phone support scams have been around since 2010. They're still around. Could you kind of describe how it works?
Well, in 2010, it was quite a few people who did it, and then we saw a lot of copycats, and now it's almost like an epidemic. And how it works is you have these people pretending to call from very, very big, large corporations, like, for example, Microsoft, Apple, and also Google. And sometimes they call you and they say, hey, your computer is infected, you have a problem with the computer, your computer has been compromised, has been hacked, and we have strong indications that it is your computer and we're willing to help you. And pretending to be from technical support, and they will help you install an antivirus, a security solution, and at the end they offer you to pay for this subscription. And the subscription sometimes is lifetime support, lifetime updates, lifetime anti-hacker solution, as they call it. And what it basically does, it does nothing to your computer. It's just an empty program with a nice graphical interface. And the people that they're calling is mostly people at home, which is something that they planned. So they call people at home because during normal business hours, because the people that's home is mostly the elderly or unemployed or someone who might not be technically advanced. So they know that the person who they will talk to will be a very easy victim.
How do they get the phone numbers? How do they get the targets?
I actually don't know. I have a theory that is they're just brute forcing numbers. My number at home, for example, starts with 123. And I think that's one of the reasons why they call me so many times, because they call me even that I told them that I work for a security company and they should not really call me, and they just kept calling me, and they still do. So I think they're just brute forcing numbers, but what they're doing is they're targeting a specific country, and they're targeting a country that they're known to speak very good English in. So they might target Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, but also Northern Europe, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Germany, and so on. That they know that the person who they talk to knows English and can talk English.
So you've actually engaged with them. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So I was working at home, as I normally do, and they kept calling. And in the beginning, I didn't really pay much attention to it. I just thought it was very annoying that they called me and wasted my time. And at the end, I thought, well, this is actually a problem, and let me see what I can do, because specifically at the time when they called me, I also had a virtual machine running. It was freshly installed. I thought, why not just play around and see what they actually do, what they want. So I allowed them to connect to my machine, and I captured all the network traffic. I wrote down a transcript of everything that they were saying, and I mean, that wasn't really it, because then when it comes to the payment, I didn't really know how to continue, because now I have all this information. I have information that they are on my system, but what else? What else do I need? Well, I need some kind of proof where they're coming from, because they also try to masquerade where they're coming from different IPs, different proxy servers. But what I did is I successfully got one of the clients, I mean one of the workstations, to connect to a machine that I had under my control. And by doing that, I could see where they were coming from.
So where were they coming from?
India.
So, what was it like talking to the person? They were actually trying to sell you, right? So what was it like talking to them?
In the beginning, they were really nice. I mean, very, very, very polite. They were also quite technical, which is an advantage for them, because they can say technical terms that most people don't understand. But they were very helpful, very nice, and at the end, they got kind of frustrated, because I kind of wasted their time for several hours, and they wanted to benefit from it. So they wanted me to pay for a service. And when they noticed that something was wrong, the payment didn't go through, they got kind of nervous, and they actually changed attitude and became kind of aggressive, called me dirty words, and just threatened me in different ways. And this was actually before I tricked them, so they became kind of aggressive before I told them that I actually captured the information and knew who they were.
So this is actually quite lucrative for them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I did a small calculation about how many call centers that they have in India, how many that's a rogue and so on, and the conclusion of that calculation is that they're making about $350,000 per day, and that's only if they infect 1% of all the victims that they're calling, and that's a very, very high number. I mean,
and this was just one group that you isolated. You think they're one of many groups that are?
There is tons of groups. I mean, and we have indication that there's so many different groups, because when one guy hears about a successful scam, they will try to do it themselves. So there's a lot of copycats. I think in the beginning it was not a lot of group, but then it just became bigger and bigger and bigger, as all cybercrime. As soon as it becomes easy and people know how to do it themselves, they will.
Law enforcement, the Federal Trade Commission actually took down one of these groups last year.
Yeah, I mean, the problem that law enforcement has is when they receive information about someone being scammed and the victim actually calls the police, is that the crime has already been committed. But what I did is I had them on the phone. I can collect all the information before the crime committed. So I had all the proof before they actually stole the money, because that's how it normally works. The victim will call the police and say, someone stole $200 from me in this phone scam, but then they already had the money. Then police has a bigger problem collecting the real evidence that they need to find these guys. So, and I also noticed that a lot of other security researchers, not just me, has done the same thing, and because of this research, the police and other law enforcement, they can get proof and real evidence that these guys are coming from India, where they're coming from, domain names, email addresses, real names, and stuff that can actually help in the investigation.
So at this point, do you think they're operating out of several countries?
No, not as far as I know. I have not heard any indication that these phone scammers is calling from other countries than India.
This sounds like a variation of the scareware, is what we call it, the rogue antivirus scheme that has been around for a decade now. It's still around, even though there have been law enforcement actions to get you to, where they infect the computer by clicking to the wrong website or whatever, and to release your computer, you pay a fee for kind of worthless antivirus. Is that
It's a nice comparison, but it's not actually the same, because what's happening when, in the case that you're telling about, is that you're infecting a computer. You need to find a vulnerability or find some way to actually put the malicious code into the computer. What they're doing, they're not using any malicious code at all. They just use the social aspect, the social vulnerabilities, by targeting the elderly or people that's not really good with computers and tricking them instead of trying to find a technical vulnerability to get their rogue antivirus. But we have seen that these people also install rogue antivirus on the computer. So you paid for a service, and then after 2 weeks or a month, you'll get a pop-up alert saying, oh, your license of this new fake security software is outdated and you have to pay for a new one. And even if 1% does, it's still very profitable for them.
Of course, they couldn't survive without a way to receive the payment, so they're using the normal payment, merchant credit payment infrastructure that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen is that most of the payments is going through some kind of payment portal, like PayPal, for example, and they want the victim to pay with a credit card. So when they pay with the credit card, they don't just get the money, they also get the credit card number. I don't know if they're actually using the credit card number for anything important, but they do get that information as well, because they have control of the victim's computer while the victim is paying for the service.
First spotted in 2010, we're now in 2013. Is this a problem that's going to continue?
Yes, and they're evolving as well. I got some news just a week ago when a new type of scam is going on, and it's the same idea, but instead of saying that your computer is infected, they're actually calling people who they already scammed and say, now we have another feature, another service, or you need additional whatever to become more secure. And as I said, if only a very, very small percentage of people fell for it, then they're still making a lot of money.
So it fooled you once, see if it can fool you again.
Yeah, and they're calling so many people. That's I mean, their point. They will call 100, 200, 300 people every day, and that's a lot of people.
Thank you very much, David.
You're welcome.